accidents, fender benders, all these kinds of things. And because the 9 is not friendly to the United States, because one of the opposition numbers to this nation is the number 9, this may explain some of all the craziness that's going on right now, all the confusion, especially in the month of January, because with this being the year of the 9, July is one of its stressful months. So what I'm saying is that even though it is, for those who understand, don't let people get you into arguments, don't let people get you into confrontations. For example, one of the demonstrations is because of something that happened earlier last week where it was a road rage incident where the person got out the car and supposedly hit the guy and then shot him and stuff like that. So now that's being investigated. Then you got Sterling in Louisiana. Then you have Piscal in Minnesota. So it's a lot of craziness and all of them going on in where was it? Texas, where the 5 policemen were killed. Now it's very interesting. The only thing I'll say is they'll call that a massacre, but just the week before, the New York Post did an expose that over 500 people in the first 6 months of this year have been killed all around the country. Yet they don't refer to that as a massacre. So if I have to say over 500 people versus 5 people, I would say 500 is a massacre. But I guess the distinction is, well, a policeman's life is better than a non-policeman's life. And as far as I'm concerned, all life is the same. Yes. All life is the same. So, thank you, Mr. David. We're going to talk about this. Anyway, I do love my children. My daughter really surprised me by, have a blessed day, my brothers. And welcome back. Okay? And so what she's going to do is she's going to come up very shortly and talk about what made her. And in fact, let me tell you what happened, how it works. When my daughter graduated from Clark Atlanta University, she worked at a bank. And she looked even younger than she looks now. And what happened is, at the bank, there was a bank robber that stuck a note under her, passed it on to her, right? So that was, I guess, shocking enough. I've never been stuck up like that, but I would imagine to a person who's working in a bank and she's looking like a kid, they would take advantage. And then about a year later, give or take, she was stuck up again, but this time she was stuck up with a person with a gun. And that's when I told her banking days are over. And she's coming to New York to live with me. That's how she came back to New York. That's right. Seriously. And I mean, you gotta understand, banks are stuck up every day and people are not fortunate to walk away. But I said, no, your banking days are over. And I'm glad she listened to me because she moved back with me and stayed with me or whatever until she met Jay and then married. But it was she who got me conscious of my eating habits and dietary laws. So now I eat totally different. Other than that, I was loving me some Mickey D's. Okay, they would be like 2 cheeseburgers for $1. That should have been my tip off right there. What was happening? What's those apple pies for $1? I mean, I was living. I mean, I should have owned some stock. But it showed that basically because of her, I changed my diet. So everything I eat now is totally more wholesome, healthy. And in fact, I rarely eat out on the street at all. I eat more at home. I know what I'm making. I put a lot of love in what I'm doing. And so that's always the best. Then I've been blessed to meet some very interesting people, teaching a class. I now have an online class. I've now published 3 books. I have one of my students here, Pam, that's one of my great supporters. In fact, if it wasn't for Pam, they would have, especially at City College, I was supposed to have a class, and she says, I'll call everybody. So it's very nice to have people in your corner. So Pam, thank you so much for that. God will prosper this dude. Nice heels you got. Those are nice shoes. Y'all all got, they got plain stuff for dudes. They got fancy stuff for dudes, but it's okay. Anyway, so what I'd like to do is tell you about the importance of numbers. All of us, have a seat, Colson. Thank you. You're welcome, sir. Anyway, all of us have a divine gift.
But this
All of
part
us.
is really hard. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, because you're going to be on soon, darling. Okay, no, I don't, no, you got to,
They're happy.
I can tell.
So am I.
So anyway, though, everybody has a number that follows them. The main number to follow is always from your date of birth. Now, people will say, well, what about my destiny number? The destiny number is simply the month, the day, and the year you're born. But that means what you must learn over a long period of time. But when you want to know immediately what's happening, then you look at the date of birth. So in your case, Simon's wife, she's the number 6. Pam, she's the number 9 because she's born on the 18th. Colson, he's the number 2 because he's born on the 29th. 2 plus 9 is 11. I'm talking about you. And Beltise, did I say your name correctly? What's your birthday? 8/2/28. So she's the number 1. So everybody, and this is my young spirit here. He's born on the same day as me, February 16th. So 1 plus 6 is 7. And I expect great things from you, my brother. Okay. And what's your birthday then?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. What's your birthday? What month and day are you born? Huh? Now that's interesting. This is your son, right? Because you're born on the 28th, 2 plus 8 is 10, 1 plus 0 equals 1, and he's born on the 1st. The 1st of what? December. Looking just like him.
Richard Pryor's birthday.
Yeah, Richard Pryor's birthday. But so if you find it hard for him to take orders or listen, yeah, but you were probably something else when you was coming up as a kid too, what your mother said. Because number 1s like to do it their way. And when you understand it, see, this is where the power of understanding comes in. So that's why I have a section on children. That's why Simon wrote a book on children. So parents can understand why you may have a child that's very sensitive, and why you have a child that's not taking no orders, don't like to be bossed around. The only thing about number 1 children, for example, they don't have enough experience and sophistication, but they know deep inside they don't like taking orders. So thus they will appear to be rebellious, because they love to win. A winner always comes to what number? Number 1. Not number 1.5, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6.
My sister was born May the 3rd. That's why she left home. She left the family because her and my mother couldn't get along.
That's weird. And then she's a Taurus too.
And she went all the way to California.
Well, Tauruses are very, very, I tell people if you want to know anything about the signs, even if you don't know, look at the symbols assigned to them. So in the case of your sister, as a Taurus, that's a bull. Now, anybody that's got any halfway common sense, which you need no intelligence, okay? No GEP or whatever, GED, or whatever it is. Anyway, you know when you see a bull, you don't mess with it. I mean, if you got any sense, not unless you Ray Charles, then you can't see, but you don't. So each sign carries with it its own description just by the symbols. So when they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, that's exactly what it's about. 1,000 words. All right? And so, yes.
I just saw again the movie Godfather, Al Pacino talking.
Well, Al Pacino is in Aries. He's born April the 3rd. No, Al Pacino he's born April the 3rd. And the only reason why is there was back in the 90s, I think, Al Pacino wanted Eddie Murphy to play, there was some role where he'd have been like it was some jungle movie or something like that. And I knew Eddie Murphy was going to do it because they both born on the same day. Eddie Murphy's not going to take it. So once you know the nature of a number, the nature of a sign, it will tell you. But even if you don't know the nature or the sign or the number, there's still no substitute to treating everybody with respect when you meet them. That is universal. That goes past the sign, that goes past the gender, that goes past the age. And the one thing I was blessed with was parents that taught me manners, although I did get 2 beatings. When I got spanked, my mother beat me in the afternoon, my father spanked me in the evening. But But let me say this for what it's worth for my folks. There wasn't a beating I didn't get that I didn't deserve. You gotta understand that, okay? So, keeping it real, all right? They were not abusive. Nowadays, if you spank your child, they want to call in the attorney general, which I think is, but some kids really need to have their legs tapped, okay? So with me, with my daughters, it was easy. I just give them the look. You know what I'm saying? With my boys, I had to go there. But you know what? They're all doing all right. All right? So what I'm saying is now things have changed a lot. But the universal principle of showing respect for people will never ever change. Even a bum in the street, if you treat him with respect, you'd be surprised. Okay? One time I was with somebody and I said, there was a guy kind of blocking the doorway, standing in the street. I said, "Excuse me, sir." And they said, "Well, why do you say that?" That could have been me. See, God knows, we all have what we think is the plan, and then God has the master plan, so to speak. You see? So I say it so you never know how things are going to be. For example, if you had talked to Tyler Perry when he was at the lowest point, probably living in California, 1313 cardboard box, that one day he would own a studio, he would have successful movies, successful plays, successful books, that the president would come to his studio in Atlanta. At that point in time when he was at the bottom, he would say, "You were out your mind." But you never know. Then you would have a person who, I don't know whether in your senior special on OJ Made in America is an ESPN documentary. It's not the typical documentary, okay, where there's a stereotype where, I don't like this group and like that. But it was about a man who was extremely successful, O.J. Simpson. Very popular, very well liked, and whatever reason, now if you look at his life, now he's serving 33 years in prison. But at the time, everybody knew O.J. You know what I'm saying? So it just shows you that you can be at the top and have a great fall, or be sometimes at the bottom and rise to the top. So my whole thing is I don't stand in judgment. None of us should stand in judgment. Everybody got their own story. Everybody got their own drama. Everybody got their own challenges. So the thing I like about numbers is numbers act as a guide. And once you understand the numbers, they benefit you. They give you direction, focus. And with that, you tend to do better. Each number is assigned a day, assigned a date, assigned a month, assigned an age, assigned a year. And so, therefore, when I talk to people, it almost seems as if I know them. I don't know them. I know the nature of a number. So, for example, 4 is a number that's always considered odd and unusual. And I remember one time I went into this store, and the way the store was, it was long and very narrow. It was odd. And I says, I wonder if this is a number 4 store. So when I got outside, and I looked, sure enough, the building address added up to the single number of a 4. So you learn things.
Excuse me, I just remember my brother's number was the same year. My brother's birthday was April 16th.
Yeah, the same day as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And the Pope.
February 16th.
Yes, that's right.
So, but he had a hard time in the system. He had a lot of nerves, and he had a lot of self-confidence.
Well, he's an Aries. I would expect that.
But guess what? He wound up in prison, my brother.
Well, these things happen. This is what I'm trying to tell you. This is why you can have a person born with no supportive family and wind up rising to the top, and then you can have another person born with a all-supporting family, education, environment, and being things that go downhill. So I think it's part of our actions, because there are always repercussions for your actions. And I heard this phrase one time, if you choose it, that's how you live it. Okay? So it all depends on people's attitudes and behaviors and whatnot. Every one of you here are divinely special. I did a lecture upstate New York yesterday, and I was explaining that if you look biologically at the process of how we all arrive, there's millions and millions of sperm. That's a whole lot of competition. Millions and millions of sperm going after one egg. Whoever got to that age, you are the end product of that. So you can't tell me y'all are not special. And this is how I treat people. I don't, treating people, I'm going to show respect. That's, first of all, how I was raised. But then when you take a course in biology to understand the process of how that egg meets that sperm, with all those millions of sperms competing, and you are the end results, I say, obviously you must be outstanding. And every single one of you are outstanding. But what happens is, we get into this looking into somebody else's backyard as against looking into our own backyard, because all of us have our greatness. It's what we do or don't do, and I think in this culture they keep us so distracted looking at the Kardashians and so. For example, to show you the influence, me and my brother was on the bus, and this young couple, evidently she says, "Honey, can you hug me?" And what he did was he put his hand around her on her butt. Okay? Now what happens is, my brother was telling me that's how Kanye West rolls now. When he walks down the street with his wife, he has his hand on her butt.
Yeah.
So evidently the young brothers are seeing this. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, it's those kinds of things. And so instead of us developing our own unique individuality, we're made to copy what so-and-so is doing. And the irony is they call these reality shows, and ain't none of it close to reality. They got the housewives in New York City. Y'all here meet the housewives in New York City? Don't look like nobody's sitting up in here. The housewives of Bel Air, the housewives in New Jersey, the housewives of Atlanta. They got housewives everywhere except the housewives I see. But they call them reality shows, and the irony is, it is nothing close to reality. Let me tell you, Simon said something about the radio. In the days of radio does something that television doesn't do. In radio, you have to use your imagination. So let's say you're listening to a program. In one person's mind, they may see this character dressed in this color, but another person listening to that same radio program may see another person in a whole other shape or color or form or fashion. With TV, it's all visual, so they paint a picture so everybody's seeing the same thing. But radio allows your imagination to come through. And with that, that's why I like radio, and that's how I started. So people would think I was real tall, man, okay, when they see me, I was not tall. Or they would think this, that, and the other. But that's the imagination of radio. It allows you to develop your own thought process, to use your own mind and stuff like that, okay? So, let me see something. I know, okay, so Pam is a number 9, Belchis is a number 1, you're a number 2. What's your birthday, young man? June 20th? You belong in, is this your child too? He should do well in engineering, computers, electronics, gadgets, and gizmos, stuff like that. And like to collect things. And probably very finicky about his eating habits too. Are you finicky about your eating habits? Or you touchy? In other words, are you picky about anything, or you eat anything that somebody put in front of you? Yeah. Well, they know he said, no, I ain't touching. Yeah, but you being true to yourself. And by the way, Mommy, he's very psychic too. And he would be the more affectionate ones, because 2 children love to hug a lot.
He's very calm. The other
Your number 1 here, he's off on his own, okay? So don't worry about it. But every person has their own individuality, okay? If we were all the same, we'd all come in here with the same clothes on, we'd all go to bed at the same time, it'd be boring, okay? That's like if there was one pill, you wouldn't need all these thousands and thousands of different medications and stuff. My brother, what's your birthday?
3965.
You're 9. You were on the same day. Jeffrey Osborne, one of my favorite singers. You heard of Jeffrey Osborne? That's my man, okay? And he knows how to kick it, all right? But as a 9 person, it tells me you don't take stuff. This is a very important year for you. In fact, this year has found you very, very busy with your career. And in fact, this month of July, which is kind of crazy, yet you're attempting to start something on your own or learn something new or different, saying, you know, boo, I gotta do this, I gotta see what I gotta do. You know what I'm saying? Because last month you broke the books on somebody. I don't need this, I don't need that. whatever the case is, we all go through cycles. So he is a warrior. This is a fighter. He'll fight you physically, mentally, whatever. What's your birthday?
Yeah, but I can beat him though.
You must be a number one. What's your birthday?
January 6th. Oh, she's a 6th.
Yeah, she's a 6. She's born the same day as grandma. Mommy's mother. Yeah, I know. Yes, okay. And you can tell that's my daughter. That's my baby. My babies will be 80 years old. They still don't have to put on a coat when they go out in this coat.
Yes.
I didn't understand until I became a parent. Parents are very special. What I found though, I always assumed that, I'm going to get to you in a moment, I always assumed that the fathers were very important to the boys, to give them that structure and image. But what I found by having daughters, that the fathers are even more important to the girls. So with that, and that's all I'm saying, you were born on 6, 6 is the 9 upside down. And she can be sweet. She knows how to read a person like a book. She'll see me with this shirt and tie, and she'll say, honey, don't give Strayhorn your money. You know, but to you, I be looking all legit, you know, official. That don't mean jack to her. That don't mean jack to her. Don't give that man your money, honey. And then she'll say, I told you so. That don't help your situation.
Yeah,
But she's good at sizing things up. 6s have this sense of value about them, where she knows the value of something. And I jokingly say 6s can be so stingy they can squeeze the brown off the penny. But if there's something she wants, she's gonna figure out how you're gonna get it. Whether it's a house, whether it's a car, or whatever the case is. And she's always got nice taste. And by the way, your lady's always a work in progress. Always likely to go to school, take a course.
Lady, no.
Huh?
You didn't make me his lady. I'm not his lady.
Well, I don't know what's happening. You said you could boss him around, so I'm making you up. I'm only joking. So you just friends? Yeah, okay. That's why. You should see that smile on your face, though. I always use it to see it.
Yes, I'm very happy. I'm very happy that we're friends.
Oh, that's a good combination. He's water, you're earth. Anything you plant on God's green earth, you need rich soil. That's you. And then it don't grow until you water it. So he's the nurturer in that sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I will say this, sir, she's very stubborn.
Yeah.
And when she gets set in her ways, ain't nobody budging.
She's not only stubborn, she's obdurate.
Yes, yes. It's all obstinate and unyielding. And you're slow, too. Not slow in a mental way, but you'll rush him and you'll be the last one to go out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, listen. You're heading into a pregnancy cycle in October. People always in your business, right? No, but see, as I explained, we take it literally, but in numbers, they are also symbolic. So in other words, after the summer, around the fall, she might give birth to an idea, a concept, a business, a project, an enterprise, a plan. You see what I'm saying? And honey love, like, yo, I got this, you know, and she needs to own property. So I know she likes houses, or would want to own a house where she can walk around all 4 sides of it. That's the nature of it, okay? You have the same numbers as the first lady, who is dynamic in a different order. Yeah. You met her? Well, y'all probably hit it off very nice, because you're both Capricorns. Her numbers are the 8, 6, and 3. Your numbers are the 6, 8, and 3. You've got the same numbers except slightly arranged. Okay? What's your birthday, sir?
February 18th.
2 9s sitting right next to each other. They could both tell each other where to go, and it wouldn't be personal. But he's a different type of 9. And what's interesting, Pam, one of my best students, is a number 9. She's born on the 18th. And this is the year of the 9. But 9 is governed by the planet Mars, which is associated with knives and guns and wars and confrontation. To the higher side, this year says you should be inspirational, motivational, bring out the best in people, to raise their consciousness, to make them feel good about themselves. But to the negative, and only because 9 is a very, not one of the best numbers for this nation, it seems to bring out the worst. Guns, knives, arguments, confrontations, There was this football player last month named Will Smith, the same name as the actor. Evidently in Louisiana or something, he had a little fender bender. I used to tell my children when they small cars kiss, okay? Gotta break it down to them kind of easy. So when cars kiss or have those incidences, instead of getting out and arguing, you want to know, is everybody okay? That's why you got car insurance. So the cars can be fixed. But what about the people in the cars? And so I told people that this would be the time if that should happen. So about a month and a half ago, the football player, Will Smith, he got out, based in somebody's face, they shot him dead. Believe me, if he could rewind, he did that scenario totally different. Then last week, which is part of the demonstration this week is occurring, of the road rage somewhere, what is it, Long Island or something like that? And you know, it was in the morning or something like that, and the guy was in the car with his family. And it shot him, all right? And so now the guy is being under investigations and whatnot. But what I'm saying is, for anybody that want to fuss and fight, leave them alone.
Lloyd,
Yes.
the first officer that they reported to get shot at the Dallas,
Was it number 9?
his name, Brent, add up to number 9.
Yeah.
And of course, this is a cancer nation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that because 9 is one of the opposition numbers to this nation. For example, 9 rules the month of April. Several presidents have died in April. The first president who died in office, William Henry Harrison, born on the 9th of February, died in the 9th of April. The first president to be assassinated, Abraham Lincoln, also was assassinated in the month of April. If you look at the longest serving president, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he died in the month of April. So April is not too good for this nation, but if you understand that April is governed by the 9 numerically, you can understand why they need to tiptoe through it. So you guys are fighters, either verbally, physically, however they bring it to you, you imagine. But this year says instead of letting the 9 get the best of you in terms of your ego, that you take the high road and says, you know what, brother, you know, I'm glad I heard Lloyd Strayhorn the other day, because you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And it may make all the difference in the world, because real life ain't like no video game. You know, with video games, you know, when you get zapped, you start all over again. When you get zapped, that's it. That's it. You know? So this is what I'm saying to you. Take the high road, be high-minded. Don't, people that want to fuss, people that want to argue, say, okay, you got it. And with us men with our egos, that's not always easier said than done. Because that's why we got the ego. You know, we don't have to take that, so and so and so and so. But I'm saying that this year says that is the best approach to use. So that's the policeman being shot at in Texas, all this nonsense going on. These things are very important. So you don't take orders well and you don't take orders well. What's your birthday? October 7th? Okay, Elijah Muhammad was born on that day, Bishop Desmond Tutu was born on that day, Charles Barron was born on that day, a couple other famous people. In fact, who the Braxtons? Tony Braxton. She was born October 7th too. Okay, but 7s are the strong, quiet type. You know what I'm saying? And I noticed with 7 women, unlike 7 men, like I'm a 7, because 7s are kind of laid back. Oftentimes, 7 women are accused of being snooty, stuck up, or who do you think you are? Have anybody ever said that to you? Yeah. But what happens is 7s are kind of like discreet, they're discriminating, and they don't like a lot of people in their business. And that's the only reason why that is.
That's why she's sitting by herself in the back.
Yeah. They're very analytical. They like to be their own best company. You know, I can't knock on your door because I happen to be in the neighborhood and say, oh, yo, she's home. And what's your name? Huh? Michelle? I said, like, I'm passing your neighbor. I said, oh, man, Michelle's